Hello humans, welcome back to Your Thoughts Are Valid and I hope you all are doing great. हम यूनिट सेकेंड ही कंटिन्यू कर रहे हैं जो कि है सिलेक्शन ट्रेनिंग एंड डेवलपमेंट और ये है पार्ट 7 क्रैश कोर्स का. सो लेट्स सी व्हाट टॉपिक्स वी आर गोइंग टू कवर टुडे. सो टुडे वी विल कवर सम टाइप ऑफ ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम्स. इन टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू कवर on the job training, vestibule training, apprenticeship, computer assisted instruction, net based training. So let's start with the video. Okay. So first, let's understand what training is. Although I have given brief about training in other videos, but let's read it again. So let's see the first point. So training is basically nothing but a planned effort by a company so that they can facilitate employees learning of a particular job, or like if the company wants to compete with other companies and they need skilled employees, they want their employees to get knowledge of a particular skill or maybe just refine their skills, then they plan a training program. Then let's look at the second point. So training is basically a process of learning a sequence of programmed behavior. Okay, it's like a process of learning a sequence of programmed behavior. It is about applying the knowledge, and it is also about giving people awareness, giving employees awareness about the rules and procedures of the company. It helps in bringing positive change in the knowledge and skills and attitudes of employees. Let's look at the third point. Training is a process that tries to improve skills or add to the existing level of knowledge so that the employee is better equipped to do his or her present job. Also, it bridges the gap between what the employee already has and what actually the job demands, the skills which are not right now in the employee but will be developed through the training. Also, it is like a very continuous process, like because technology is advancing, and then you really need to upgrade yourself every day to be better. So training is very necessary, no matter which mm, which area we are talking about, which career we are talking about. Upgrade is needed in almost every field. So training is continuous, it is never ending. Then let's see the next point. Usually it is given to new employees so that they can get acquainted with the work environment. It is very short, informative training which happens after recruitment to introduce or to orient about the organization's rules, procedures, and policies. It can be given to old employees as well. If they want those employees to learn a new skill, then it can be given to old employees as well. Then let's see the last point here. So training actually plays a very important role in HR development. And we all know that human resource are like the lifeblood of any organization, and only through trained and efficient employees can an organization grow. So this is like a very brief introduction about what training is, why it is needed. Let's move on. So training and development techniques can be divided into two categories. First is on the job training method, then off the job training method. So let's learn about the on the job training. So this is considered to be the most effective method of training, especially if the person we need to train is works under operations team. Then it is very much needed, this type of training. Under this method, the worker is trained on the job while he is working at his working place on the same machine, using the same material, methods, under same working conditions, with the same process that he will be using ultimately after completing the training. It is usually given by the immediate boss, or you can have a supervisor or a senior to guide you. Superior knows exactly the problem the employee is facing and what they need to teach the employee. basically how to deal with those problems, what skills you need to deal with those problems. Then sometimes the organization has to call a professional from outside the organization if no one in the companies knows about a particular job and they want their employees to learn that skill. They will call an instructor from outside who is a professional in that particular area. Also, the most important advantage of this type of training is that it's like training and working is happening at the same time. So training while working. So special time for training is saved. So yes, working and training goes on simultaneously. These methods, on-the-job training methods, are very popular and most commonly used both in basic skills training and in management training and development. Uh, so I hope it is clear till here on the job training method. Let's move on. So some of the methods of training that come under the classification of on-the-job training are, we will just learn three. Job rotation, we are going to learn in more detail. Here, I will just tell you in brief. So it is about, shifting the trainees from one job to another, but under the same department. It is basically there to help employees gain knowledge and experience from the trainers of the different job assignments. Also, it facilitates the trainee to understand the problems of employees on the other jobs. Then, second method is training by supervisor. So here, basically, the supervisor supervises or instruct the employee while the employee is working. Sometimes supervisor will demonstrate how to do something. It basically enables the supervisor and the employee to understand each other better and to maintain healthy relations between them. Every employee from clerk to company president gets some on the job training when he or she joins it. And the last one is understudy method. So it is about a senior and experienced employee who is needed to teach a new employee as his understudy. So the trainee under this system might lose his or her motivation or morale because the person under whom he is working may not take interest in him. This method takes a long time and trainee loses his motivation because of uncertainty in his promotion position. Then let's see some of the merits of on-the-job training. So let's look at the first merit, which is like the trainee learns on the actual machines and equipment in use in the true environment of his job. So it actually leads to a feeling of actual production conditions and requirements. Then second is working and learning go hand in hand, go on simultaneously. Then third is that it is highly economical. Then fourth is that it helps employees to easily cooperate with the management and maintaining discipline in the organization because they learn about rules and regulations of the company in day-to-day life while they are applying or while they are being trained. And then this type of training is suitable for all types of organizations. Also, time taken under this method is very less. It is like time saving method. It is most appropriate for teaching the knowledge and the skills which can be acquired in a relatively short period, for example a few days to weeks. So these are some of the merits of on the job training method. Now let's look at some of the demerits. So the first demerit is that the training instructions are not properly organized because there is no systematic way of doing that. So training is not properly supervised, which might make it very chaotic for the trainee or very haphazard. Then very experienced employees are needed to impart the training. And even sometimes the experienced employees are not that good at teaching a particular skill, so it basically depends on how they are supervising, on how they are training, so that might become an issue. Also, the working hours of employees remain very unproductive at such time because they are just getting instructions. Also, sometimes trainee lose motivation in such kind of training. Then sometimes the environment can be very noisy. Also, there is low productivity, low quality of work, and inefficiency, which comes to fore floor, especially when the employee is unable to fully develop his skills. So I hope this on-the-job training method is clear to you now. Let's move on to the next method, which is vestibule training. Okay, so let's see the first line. This method attempts to duplicate on-the-job situations in a classroom. Okay, duplicate on-the-job situations in a classroom. So it is like classroom training, which is often imparted with the help of equipment and machines which are identical with those in use at the place of work. It helps the trainee to concentrate on learning the new skills rather than on performing actual job. After training, the worker is put on similar job in the workshop. It should be noted that a well qualified and trained instructor is deputed as in charge of the program. This method is quite expensive because there is duplication of material, equipment, and conditions which are found in a real workplace, but it is correct way of imparting theory along with acquainting with the practical work. It means theoretical training is given in the classroom while the practical work is conducted on the production line. This is an excellent method for a big number of employees to be trained for the same kind of job and for training semi-skilled personnel. Some examples will be training pilots or cabin attendants, and then astronauts who train in mock-up space capsules. These are some of the examples. Let's look at some other examples as well. So some other examples can be inspectors, machine operators, typists. This method is most useful when philosophic concepts, attitudes, theories, and problem-solving abilities have to be taught. It is given in the form of classroom lectures, conferences, case studies, role-playing, discussion. It is also known as near the job training because it involves the creation of a simulated work environment near the primary production plant. Vestibule training has become more popular in industries that rely on hands-on activities and specialized equipment. It prevents fatal incidents such as personal harm and death by improving staff skills before putting them in a real-world workplace situation. Now let's look at some of the advantages of vestibule training. So first is it is most practical kind of training, especially when there are many people who must be instructed for the same job. Actual work environment is unaffected because vestibule training takes place in a simulated rather than the real production site. Also, workers concentrate solely on training and are unconcerned about faults in the manufacturing process. So this fact can reduce their anxiety and nervousness. So these are some of the advantages of vestibule training. Now let's see some of the disadvantages. First is that it is very costly because we need to duplicate the work situation, workplace, and it even takes very long because like the fullest setup must be constructed before training can begin. Also, vestibule trainers must be very highly trained professionals, so their salary will be quite high. And the last is workers may find it challenging to adjust to their new work environment. No matter how much you try to duplicate the workplace situation, it will be a little bit different than the real setting. So, yes. Then let's move on to the third, which is apprenticeship. This is the third type of training method. So, an apprenticeship is a program in which an individual is paid to learn skills and real life work experience from an expert professional or craftsman with the promise of employment in the specific industry the individual has trained. It is about a system of training a new generation of skilled crafts practitioner, and it is still popular in some countries. Under this training system, trainees are paid a stipend, and generally they are offered jobs by the employer after completion of training. There are many benefits to participating in an apprenticeship. The apprentice earns money, skills, certifications, degrees, and the employer receives an expert trained employee who is instantly ready to be productive. This type of training is designed for a higher level of skill. It tends more towards education than on the job training. Also, government have passed laws which makes it obligatory on every employer to provide apprenticeship training to young people. In this type of training, knowledge and skill in doing a craft or series of related jobs are involved. It involves both on the job training and experience with classroom instructions in particular subjects. It is desirable in industries which require continuous flow of new employees expected to become all-round craftsmen. This type of training is mainly suitable for employees working in printing trades, building constructions, and trades like mechanics, electricians, welders, tool maker, pattern designer, carpenters, weavers, fitters. Also, it is like the oldest and most commonly used method, especially when proficiency in a job is required. Let's look at some of the advantages. First is that a skilled and trained workforce is maintained. Also, instant returns can be expected. Then workmanship is good. It reduces labor turnover, also lowers hiring cost, also reduces production cost. It increases the loyalty and honesty among employees, and opportunities for growth are frequent. Then let's look at the demerits. So it is too rigid. Uh, every apprentice is required to undergo a prescribed routine and follow prescribed series of subjects. Little attention is given to individual differences. Also, it is expensive and lengthy. And even after that, there is no assurance that you will be hired permanently in the company. If the program is registered and sponsored by the government, the firm is required to maintain certain standards, and frequent interference and inspections may create day-to-day difficulties. So these are some of the demerits. Now let's look at the assisted instruction, CAI. So, with the worldwide expansion of companies and changing technologies, the demands for knowledge and skilled employees have increased more than ever, which in turn is putting pressure on HR department to provide training at lower cost. Many organizations are now implementing CBT, which is computer-based techniques, as an alternative to classroom-based training to accomplish those goals. A self-learning technique, usually offline, online, involving interaction of the student with programmed instructional materials. It is an interactive instructional technique whereby a computer is used to present the instructional material and monitor the learning that takes place. CAI uses a combination of text, graphics, sound, video in enhancing the learning process. The computer has many purposes in the classroom, and it can be utilized to help a student in all areas of the curriculum. CAI refers to the use of the computer as a tool to facilitate and improve instruction. CAI programs use tutorials, drill and practice, simulation, problem solving approaches to present topics, and they test the students' understanding. Uh, let's move on. Let's look at the types of CAI. First is drill and practice. So it provides opportunities to repeatedly practice the skills so that you can master a particular skill. Then tutorials will be given, which will give which will include both presentation of information and its extension into different forms of work. Then games are there. Game software often creates a contest to achieve the highest score and either beat others or beat the computer. Also, discovery approach provides a large database of information specific to a course or content area, challenges the learner to analyze, compare, infer, and evaluate based on their explorations of the data. And then it's problem solving. Sorry, here it is written as 6, but it should be 5. Sorry, that's a typo. Yeah, so this approach helps children develop specific problem solving skills and strategies. So I hope it is clear till here. Then let's see some of the advantages of computer assisted instruction. So the first one is provides instructional consistency. Then it reduces trainee learning time. It increases access to training. It affords privacy of learning. It allows learning at individual pace. It also allows the trainee to master the learning. It also reduces the cost of training. There are certain limitations that, like, one can feel overwhelmed by the information and resources available. Overuse of multimedia may divert the attention from the content. Then learning might become too mechanical. Non-availability of good CAI packages. Also, there might be lack of infrastructure. So this is all about CAI. Now let's learn net-based training. So it is any form of training that is delivered online. It allows for unparalleled flexibility. Anyone, anywhere, at any time can access your course content or training programs. Learning occurs independently of time and space. As a result, WBT, like web-based training, is one of the most convenient, cost-effective, and flexible method of training available, especially for large multinational companies. There are some types of web-based training. First one is synchronous web-based training, which is related to in-person training. They are both instructor-led and involve real-time interactions with learners. However, with synchronous web-based training, while the instructor and learners need to be online at the same time, teaching and learning occur in different places. Synchronous learning includes online tutoring, lectures, peer meetings, webinars, and teleconferencing. Training can be delivered to one or more learners at a time who may or may not be in different places. Then there is asynchronous web-based training, which is like in a standard with e-learning realm, as it affords the most flexibility. Content is purely digital. Learners can progress through training programs at their own pace and convenience. There is no real-time element to asynchronous training, which comes in many formats, such as e-learning courses, video tutorials, screencasts, etc. Then the last one is blended web-based training, which combines elements of both synchronous and asynchronous learning. For example, first half of a course uh, for massage therapist might contain theoretical knowledge such as anatomy, physiology, while the second half might contain hands-on elements that requires learners to physically demonstrate their technique. In this case, they can learn about anatomy and physiology asynchronously while synchronously demonstrating their hands-on skills to an instructor either online or face-to-face. So I hope it is clear till here. Then let's see some of the benefits of web-based training. It is supremely flexible, cost-effective, it has higher learning potential, and it is effective across all disciplines. There are some limitations. First is lack of face-to-face interaction, then reduced engagement and motivation, limited social learning opportunities, and there might be technical difficulties. So that is it for today's video. I hope all the training methods we learned today are clear to you now. There are more training methods which we will learn in the next video. But till here, if you have any doubt, please do ask in the comment section. And that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video.